Welcome to That's What I Call Marketing, the podcast where you will hear from the leading lights in the marketing world and listen to their unique insights. Thanks so much for tuning in. And as always, if you are enjoying episodes of That's What I Call Marketing and can take a few seconds to rate or review the episodes, it really does help us reach an engaged community of marketers just like you. So thanks so much if you have been able to do that for us. It really is appreciated. Well, on to today's guest, and it is Pete Markey, who's the CMO of Boots UK and Ireland. Now, Pete's accolades would take me nearly the next hour to read through, but he has won Marketer of the Year 4 times. He won it last year, 2023, and his team at Boots won Marketing Team of the Year. Peter said that throughout his career, he's needed to continually reinvent who he is and what he does to stay fresh, relevant, and modern in the same way as brands do. And there is no doubt that Pete has done that, and we're going to cover so much of that today. We're going to talk about surreal moments that he certainly doesn't take for granted, how it hasn't all been plain sailing for him, some of the learnings he's had from some of the major roles, the work he arrived to do at Boots, and the work he has done at Boots. And we're going to talk a bit about his leadership style. We're going to talk about data, tech, AI. We're going to talk about things he does outside of his work at Boots as well. So look, so much to get through from such an amazing marketing leader. Today's episode, Peter Markey, CMO of Boots UK and Ireland.
If you would like to reach an engaged community of marketing leaders, get in touch with That's What I Call Marketing to discuss sponsorship opportunities.
Pete, thanks a million for joining me on That's What I Call Marketing.
Brilliant to be with you. Thank you for the invite.
Yeah, no problem. I've been looking forward to doing this, and huge thanks to Danielle who helped set this up.
No worries. I know it's taken a little while, but it's good to be here at last and great to chat further with you. Big fan of the podcast, so thank you for inviting me on.
Oh, thanks a million. Well, listen, there's so much to get through, and so I get crack into it. But one of the things I wanted to ask you about first was kind of surreal moments in your career. And you spoke before about standing in Buckingham Palace. I think it might have been last summer, eating rectangular sandwiches and meeting Queen Camilla. And was that like, it must have been a pinch you moment, but did you, like when you were starting out, did you kind of say, I want to be at that pinnacle? Maybe not in Buckingham Palace Gardens, but like, did you have that kind of, that goal set out for yourself?
No, it's funny. I get asked, "Did you have a big master plan?" And I've got one. When I look back now, I go, "Oh yeah, this, and this all added up." But at the time, I just have always wanted to just do my best and be the best I could be in whatever job I've done. And I've just been very fortunate to work with some amazing people who have seen something in me and give me amazing opportunities have got me to where I am now. And I think obviously my role now is to give them the same opportunity. But I've always been competitive with myself. I've always wanted to be better than I was yesterday and perform better than I did last week, never with other people. And so, but no, I've not had a master plan. I certainly never had a moment when I imagined myself at Buckingham Palace. I thought the closest I'd get to royalty would be the waxworks at Madame Tussauds, to be honest. That was probably the extent of my ambition in life. I'm not a bad one either, because I love Madame Tussauds, so all good.
Yeah, no, I do as well, actually. I remember when I went there for the first time, and very young, and my aunt brought me, and I was like, we didn't have anything like that in Ireland. I was like, this is amazing, look at all these superstars. So it was my pinch me moment, maybe. But listen, I guess along the kind of that line as well, it hasn't all been plain sailing. I mean, again, people look at you, the role you have and the roles you've had, but you've had moments throughout your career where things haven't gone according to plan. I know, you've gone through redundancies similar to what I'm going through at the moment. And, it's not easy. Like, how do you manage those moments in your career?
They're quite hard. And I think, look, for anyone going through it, I really identify with that moment. And I've had a redundancy moment 3 times in my career. And twice I actually wanted it, oddly, undescribed why, and once I didn't. And the first time was a shock, because I was sort of, quite early on in my career, and I was at British Gas, and I took a job at the AA working on a project, and was loving that project. And for whatever reason, that project didn't sort of turn into an ongoing bit of work. And I was told, well, actually, we're going to have to let you go. Now, in the end, the redundancy wasn't seen through, because someone amazingly in another part of the business found out about my situation and gave me a new role within the telecoms division. And so, I was given a new lease of life there. But it was scary, because my son was young. I was early on in my career, and I'll be honest, I thought I had such momentum. I felt not unstoppable, but I felt like, off we go, and then suddenly it was like, oh golly, suddenly, things change. The second time was when the business I was in, that same telecoms business, got sold,
Right.
but I wanted to go and do something else. And the third time was actually at Aviva, an insurance company, where I was keen to go. I was ready to go and do something else. But they are moments when, like, the critical bit I think to separate is that it's the role that's going, not you. And I think that I remember that first time particularly was quite a body blow. I was like, oh God, people don't want me. They don't want me in the business. And actually, having a moment to go, you know what, actually I'm okay. I have worth. My life, my career, what I'm about has worth, and I can do something beyond that. I think it also, I use the words there about my life, my career. I think those moments also force you to realize often what matters in life, and actually, and the people and your support network and who's there for you. And I remember clearly in each of those moments that having a fantastic group of people who are, just there and have got my back. And those were both in the industry, but also friends who have been with me right from the word go, university friends, school friends. And so I think you discover your worth in interesting different ways. People come out and support of you and often say lovely things and put their arms around you in ways they wouldn't before. So it's a chance I think you have to lean into that moment and accept that help and support.
100%. Like, even just last week, I was up collecting the kids at the school, and one of my friends, I've known her for years and years and years, and she said to me, just, how are you getting on? And it was just, do you know what I mean? Like, it wasn't intrusive. It's just a lovely, and I think some people feel, and we don't want to talk about redundancy for the whole thing, but some people might feel uncomfortable, asking that question, but it's actually can be a nice and powerful question to ask in a very friendly way.
Well, often we don't ask it enough of each other, do we? How are you doing? Are you okay?
Yeah.
And actually, it's just often that those things are just little things that can lift and help someone's day and support their mental health. No, I always, actually, whenever people reach out to me, particularly on LinkedIn, and say, I'm in a situation where I'm looking for another job or need some help or advice, I'll always do it. I'll always say, of course, because I just think those things are so important, so key, that I think we're there for each other. Because I do think, this network of people that have got each other's back really matter. I think it's just part of being a human being, isn't it? You're there to catch each other when you need it. Because if I'm there to catch other people, they'll be there to catch me, and vice versa. And it's just wonderful circle of support, which I think just really matters.
Yeah. Oh God, couldn't agree more. It's and it's easy to get caught up, isn't it, in everything else, and kind of not go, actually, just let me check in on people. I do want to kind of get through some of maybe the earlier parts of your career. You've worked with amazing brands, AA, OneTel, more than RSA, the Post Office, Aviva, TSB, like incredible brands. But one of the things I was really interested in was, you've said for a lot of those organization and brands that you worked in, you didn't necessarily have sector experience. You weren't kind of an expert in the sector, and that can be, I think, a thing in marketing sometimes, where we go, oh, this person has to have financial services. How did you overcome that, or how did you kind of get through that part of the questioning that people have? Like, well,
no, it's great. I think I'm hoping that, and I've got a friend, Jess, who left Metro Bank and is now at Very, and I think she and I compare notes quite a lot on this. That I think there are more of us who are showing that if you can show that you're good at your core trade of marketing, you can bounce and move between industries relatively comfortably. And I've loved going into businesses and learning an entirely new sector, an entirely new brand of business, and hopefully being able to make an impact quite quickly. And but no, I did it early on in my career, actually, without realizing it. I started in the very glamorous world of British Gas, as you've described. Starting first of all in the call centre, actually helping people solve their energy bill problems, and then going from there really into sales, and then marketing, analytics, and then broader marketing campaigns. And that just took me into this amazing business in Centrica that owned, as I mentioned, the AA, owned OneTel, telco company. And I was just able to apply for and get jobs in sectors I had no experience in. Business at the time was really up for that. So by the time I was probably 6 or 7 years into my career, I'd worked in a ton of different industries without consciously realizing I'd done it. It just was all in the same business. And so then when I got to work in insurance, and I moved across to work for an old boss of mine, and he wanted me not for the insurance experience. It was sort of the planning and I guess performance side of what I could do that he wanted. And I came in and had to learn insurance very quickly. And then, as you said, things like banking, and more recently retail. I love learning. I love being in an environment where I'm making a difference. I love being in a situation where I'm always, hopefully, adding value. And I think therefore, that kind of stretching opportunity of coming in and totally learning something from scratch is hugely appealing. Retail particularly is brilliant. Like I've been nearly 4 years in Boots now, and I still feel like I'm learning every day. I know loads now. I'm able to apply that, but I feel like you've always got to be on a constant learning journey in any business in terms of what you know and how you can deploy that. So I think that for anyone listening here, don't let yourself get pigeonholed in your career. I genuinely think if you can prove your craft as a marketeer, you can work on any brand, literally any business, and go and apply those core tools into what you're doing. The big bit I think that separates marketers now, though, is if you can show that you can drive performance in what you're doing. So not just have a great brand strategy, but drive really strong performance in performance media through using data, digital channels, social influence, improve all that bundle. That I think is a very, very important combination for brands. If you've got all that, then yes, you can do what I've just described. You can go and work in a bank. You can go and work for a retailer. You can go and work for a media entertainment business. You can do all that. Seriously, I think the sky's the limit if you've got that core skill set.
Yeah, and I think the commerciality piece as well. Being really commercially driven. I think that for me that's such an important thing that you learn over time, I guess, as well. But I think also being in different sectors helps you learn that in different ways. Do you know what I mean? You can bring that in and figure it out for other brands.
I think it's a really good point. Commerciality, definitely, because I think for Connor, for neither you or I, we want to be non-commercial marketers. On the opposite, I remember in some businesses where marketing was seen as sort of fluffy. I would hate that description of sort of doing sort of brand stuff but doesn't link to good commerciality. You've got to prove that marketing can drive a return and is a really good investment in any business you're in. That's the really important part. I think that's what sets marketers apart, if you can prove that link. But as you say, there are nuances in different businesses. Banking is not the same as retail, is not the same as energy, but if you can find those nuances. But the important common thread is show that you're driving a return, show you're driving commercial value, show that you're aligned with the growth of the business, prove that marketing is not optional, it's an investment, it's not a cost. Then you can do all sorts of things in all sorts of different sectors quite powerfully, definitely.
And the data, because you touched on that as well, like the importance of data. And look, we all know there is so much data, and you can kind of get overwhelmed by, I've seen that like from agency sometimes, and they give you like 13 or 15 different data points, and I'm just like, oh, which is the important one? Because there's a lot there and they're all telling me different things, because there is so much. How do you kind of manage that, I guess? How do you kind of figure out what are the most important, without giving away your secret sauce?
I know. Oh, you get me to tell all the secrets today. I mean, there are it's interesting. I mean, there are all sorts of important measures. Some are only really important to you as a marketing team, and then maybe the business doesn't need to have an eye on those each day, but you do. So, for example, brand salience and brand awareness are really important, but maybe those aren't things you need to talk to the exec about every week. They're things that you need to know as a marketing and a brand team in terms of your delivery. So, but I've learned in each business, that I guess the best way to show up is to show metrics that are aligned to the metrics that the boardroom or the exec team are talking about in terms of performance. So if you've got a campaign in market, like Christmas will be launching for us the next couple of months, I could show up clearly and say awareness of our Christmas ad is this, but that's not as interesting or as relevant in my view as turning up saying, here's how we traded in the last week, here's how our performance channels are doing, here's the levels of engagement we've got, here's what the research is telling us around people's takeout from the work and what they're doing and acting on it. Here's what our share of voice is like versus others, etc. To build a picture up. But I think you learn over time what metrics sync and work for different execs or boardrooms. But the critical bit, again, your wonderful word a minute ago, show commerciality. And I think where I've seen this do less well with marketing teams is where the metrics just don't, back to earlier points, if I go in and I'm talking about brand awareness and if you're in a business where I think if sales are difficult and you're talking about certain metrics doing well, it looks like you're just out of sync with the business. You've got to show that how do you draw a straight line as close as you can. I know it's not always easy between we are doing this activity and this is what we believe with the data we've got we're seeing, and therefore this is how it links to the business's performance. Those things are really important. That's, I think, also what demonstrates confidence for the business to say this is a good investment. Or like any investment we would make into anything, you want to see what's it doing for you, and actually that's the really important part, to say that we invested this amount of money in Christmas activity, and therefore from the metrics we can see so far, we believe this, and this. Over time, this is my fourth Christmas now with Boots. We've got very good muscle memory to show what the metrics that we know matters, the metrics that we know, lead and lag indicators to show what is working or isn't working, and what activity we need to take to either address that or just keep going with the activity. So yeah, it's definitely learned over time.
But it's a very important distinction, I think, to have, that you have metrics that you will care about as a marketing team, and then there's metrics, that are going to be more important for the leadership team. And it's not to say, you don't throw them all out, right? You know what I mean? And you just going to say, well, actually, we're going to, yes, these are important to us, but these are the ones we're going to talk about because they're more aligned to the business.
I think that's really important because, I think because there are things that you just know that matter as a marketer, aren't they? I mean, brand health being a really important one. It doesn't mean that executive teams aren't interested in those, but I think they're things you should care more about because you understand those things more. I think that then the more relevant things are sort of, how's your activity and market performing? If there was fundamentally, I don't know, where brand health becomes important is at what I call big, for an exec or board, is at bigger moments when you go, I don't know, there's something we fundamentally need to change in our customer perception. For example, brand health is doing this and actually perception is that this needs improvement. That's when it becomes powerful, and particularly when it becomes a much bigger conversation than just the brand is X and we've got a campaign in market, because we all know brand is much more than that. It's about your store experience. It's about your on-site your website performance. It's about your team members and colleagues, how they're performing, about the products you sell. It's all those bits. So for me, those metrics become interesting when you have a brand purpose conversation or a customer experience conversation, and then you can link that back to metrics, saying if we fix this, this, and this is sort of power of what it would drive. That then becomes, I think, a much richer conversation. So on your point, I think it's bring the metrics in that are relevant to the different conversations at those different points, definitely.
Yeah, and when you joined Boots, you said 4 years ago. One of the things I've looked back on, it seems to be that you didn't go in and just change everything. You didn't go in and go, "Hey, new CMO here, baby out with the bathwater. I'm changing everything." You must have taken the time to start reflecting on, what were the metrics that mattered, what were the things that you needed to. I think was it a year or a year and a half before you kind of did any kind of rework on kind of looking at the brand and the positioning?
Yeah, I mean, it started. I mean, the starting point in any business, I think, is what I describe as coming and bottling the magic. So, I think I've never arrived in a business and done a sort of a scorched earth approach of let's start. I mean, some people might want to do that, but there's often in every business I've been in, there's lots of good there. There are amazing people doing amazing work.
Yeah.
There are pockets of excellence where you go, I just want to bottle that. I want to have a bit more of that. And there's some great people. How do I lift those people up and get more out of the amazing people we've got? So that I've definitely done and been able to do in Boots has been wonderful, but I've been able to do in previous businesses. But the starting point was we at the time when I joined, we were just sort of emerging from the first bit of the next bit of a lockdown through COVID,
Right.
all those years back. And actually it was about how do we almost relaunch on the back of that and say, actually, we're able to get on with our lives a bit more now. Here's how Boots are with you to help with that. That campaign did well, and then that led us into the first Christmas. And so the starting point was getting marketing as a unit back on the front foot, really.
Right.
Showing that we could deliver results, showing that we could do campaigns that fitted with customer insight and help drive growth as we had shops reopening and things re-emerging after a lockdown and through COVID. And we were able to prove that. And I think then the next bit, as you say, was to go, okay, we proved at a campaign and marketing level, the wheels are moving again, we're growing, we're getting a good return on investment, the business has confidence in us. Therefore, right now's the moment to go and say, okay, let's have a look at fundamentally what we're about again. I think you've got to earn permission is where I describe it for those bigger projects, because I think if I'd done that to start with in a business, it feels like that's all I care about. And actually, the most important thing is, right, are we trading? Is the business winning? Are we delivering for customers? Start there, and then almost earn the permission to go, right, now I'm now going to go up a tier and go the next level of project. And what became really clear was that we had an old purpose in Boots that manifests itself in an end line called Let's Feel Good.
Yeah.
And it was 10 years old, and it had just got a bit tired. And when you've been through a pandemic, and we'd also done a lot of work with Macmillan and the Hygiene Bank, helping people, going through real challenges in life, it felt a bit glib to say, "Oh, let's feel good," because we don't want to feel good. So the new purpose we developed was around serving customers' well-being for life, and that manifests itself in our end line, which we've had for a couple of years now, which is with you for life, which is a powerful statement that Boots are with you through the entire journey of life. Whether you have a good day or a difficult day, we're with you for all those moments. And there are too many brand promises I see, or purposes that don't acknowledge that life is sometimes not easy and it's difficult. It's easy to write, I think, a purpose which is for brighter tomorrows. And well, great, we all want one of those. But what about what's happening today? Forget tomorrow. So I think it's about being with you and alongside you through the highs and lows is part of the Boots story, because it's been our DNA for 175 years now. So yeah, and that's landed very well, both internally. We did a lot of research with staff, a lot of research with customers, and we're getting some real cut through with that in the market, and colleagues, staff in the business really love it too. But no, I think we've built up to that deliberately and consciously through proving the value of marketing, building credibility up, and then going into looking at purpose again. It was important, I think, to do it that step by step.
Yeah, and the research, and I found it really interesting. You touched on it there. Is obviously the work with Boots and Macmillan is so important, and actually saying to people, who are going through treatment or getting a diagnosis, and saying let's feel good, unintentionally is kind of not great. And so I think that was just really interesting to actually, obviously that realization come out through research and insights.
Yeah, it did, and just a bit of a gut feel,
Right.
Connor.
Okay.
You sort of, I mean, you if honest, you step back and look at it and go, we're just in a bit of a different place now, and I think the pandemic was a catalyst for that, because we'd all gone through this sort of existential moment, hadn't we, over a year and a bit of sort of life changing and being disrupted, and so this acknowledgement that sometimes you think stuff's plain sailing and sometimes it isn't. Things are hard. Life's life's hard, isn't it? Life's not easy. For all of us, there are good days and bad days. And that, I think, was a powerful bit we unlocked, is this sense that through 175 years, or 172, or wherever it was at the time, this brand, this staple of Boots has stood with the UK through all sorts of things, through a pandemic, through wars, through financial challenges and hardship, and has stood with the people of Britain and the UK, and just been a friend and been a supporter and been there for health and beauty advice and support, through that time. And that powerful, it's really resonated with people. And the fact to still be here today, and I guess the critical word I'd use within that is relevance. So the big bit we pulled out, that purpose is really strong, but we have to evidence and prove it every single day, because one of the phrases when I joined Boots, people would say to me, "Oh, you're joining good old Boots." And I got to a point of going, "Well, yeah, it is, but it's not good. It's not just good old Boots. I mean, yeah, but there's so much more to this amazing business." So we've coined the phrase over that period I've been in, of moving from good old Boots to, oh my goodness, wow Boots. And I think good old Boots to wow Boots is every day I want to give our customers a moment to go, oh wow Boots, you now do this amazing new beauty brand, you now offer this amazing health service I didn't know you did. So to build on the history, but to take it on, to give everyone a reason why they'd shop in Boots today, because I think good old is too much at the back of your mind. Good old is something I could walk past and get on and do something else with my day. Wow Boots is like, oh my goodness, I need to have a look at that. So that's been a really good rallying call for brand relevance, to say the content we have, whether it's offers, deals, services, new brands, has to shout wow Boots in every bit of copy and creative. And it's been brilliant for the team and for the business to go, that's the North Star, that's the thing we're heading towards. That's going to be how we demonstrate it with you for life, is not by looking backwards, but by looking forwards, and by saying today, tomorrow, what we're doing is this, and this. And it's a super rallying call. And also, I guess a good sense of agitation and recklessness in the business to say, well, let's keep doing more of this and keep proving and keep pushing in what we're doing.
I love that, because I was going to ask you about legacy business, such history, and kind of almost like I don't know, like does it weigh heavily? Do you know what I mean? Like you don't come in and go like, oh, 175 years of Boots, we have to not ignore it, but like you can get weighed down by that, and actually that kind of transformation of, yes, we are kind of have that amazing history where we're in every community, and actually that wow now moment is such a forward thinking way of the next 175 years, that's brilliant.
Oh, it's exciting. I mean, we have an archive in the Boots office in Nottingham, in a separate building, and the history is incredible. I could tell you stories that would last longer than we've got time to share here, but amazing history of the brand. But I think that the trick is not to stay, as I said a moment ago, don't stay stuck there, keep moving it on, because we have celebrated that milestone of 175 this year, but we haven't wanted to do it in a self-indulgent way, or pat ourselves on the back way. There's never been oh, look at us, we're 175 years old. We consciously used it quite subtly through this year to say, we are here. We have been here for 175 years. Let me talk about what we're doing right now. I don't need to give people a history lesson. The most important thing in people's lives is what we can do for you right now, not something we did 50 or 100 years ago, as amazing as it was and amazing as it is. So I think that's been the important bit is you build on it. And but I'm also very aware in the job I do that one day I'll be a footnote in history. And I think when you go into the archive, you become very aware of that. And it reminds me of that scene from Dead Poets Society where Robin Williams is there with the sepia tone pictures and he pretends they're whispering out at the boys going, saying Carpe Diem, seize the day. It's a very powerful moment in that film. And the archive reminds me of that moment where I'm very aware that one day for myself and the team, and I sometimes say this to the team, will be that sepia tone photo. Someone in 100 years' time is going to look in the archive and find this year's Christmas campaign and what we did and look at it and have a lens on it. And so I'm very aware that my job and the team's job is to set this thing up that in 175 years' time, when it's just 350th birthday, that generation look in the archive and look back and are proud of what we did and proud that what we did right now set up this next generation, because that's my job. I will be a footnote in history, barely remembered, and nor should I be. But it's going to be, what will be remembered is this amazing boots brand that we helped to build, make stronger, and push forwards. That's legacy. That's what legacy is about.
Yeah, and it's amazing to have that kind of shared ambition in a team, right? Like that kind of, have everyone kind of going, yeah, that's where we're going to. And you mentioned across the entirety of the business as well. Like, but these things aren't easy. I mean, you've made this sound incredibly easy, Pete. They're not easy projects to undertake, to move along, to get alignment and agreement. Were there things along the way that you kind of had to figure out, but just kind of, I guess, manage through? Because there may be things where you knew from the insights and research that they were right, but there may have been resistance.
I've learned a lot from trial and error in different jobs, to be honest. So it's got, you're right, it's not easy, but it's got easier when you've seen it or you've done it wrong yourself, if that makes sense. And I think the danger early on in my career, I think when I looked at, if I look at my early insurance days, when I looked at brand purpose projects, it was too much like we were chasing a new advertising slogan or an end line. It became it was a marketing project. And I think my realization, and it was from discovering, I referred to it briefly a second ago, but there's a brilliant interbrand model on brand purpose that says the way you live your brand purpose effectively to drive growth is through 4 lenses. It's not just great communications and storytelling, it's your products and services, your environment and channels, and your people and culture. Love that model. Because what it says is it's the entire business that drives your brand and growth, not just marketing. And I think early on in my career, I made it too much of a marketing project of, I remember working in More Than, where we had a purpose that manifests itself as we do more. And I focused so much on the comms demonstrating we do more, but didn't look enough about the customer service. And we were not great at aspects of our customer service. We had an offshore call center that had not been trained properly, and you had call center agents who didn't know what a lawnmower was when someone would ring up, or a shed. And I mean, there's silly, embarrassing stories. You think about that was on us. That was not the call center fault. That was our fault. And we'd not looked at it. So we had a service that was less than, and yet the brand was called More Than. And so I look back at the time, it was a sobering lesson when I looked at the data, because we saw this brand gap emerging where the comms were doing a fine job, but then the reality was hitting customers and they're going, well, hang on a minute, I don't see this when I interact with you. Yeah. So I've learned from that when you come into those bigger projects and work and look at something like purpose, you have to take the whole business with you. You have to work with the HR team to say, well, look, this is about our people and cultures, how we hire people. It's our talent activity. For the stores teams, actually, this is about the shops we have and the environment we create and what our website's like and our apps like. And all of that's got to live and breathe this purpose. And then if you've got that alignment early on, then everyone's got skin in the game. Because otherwise you do this work and then the end point becomes brilliant. Oh, we love this. Now marketing, make us a mood film that we can play to people, or stick a poster in the toilets, and then that's purpose done. And actually it's not. It's in everything. For me, a bit of purpose work has failed. This is your bit about it being hard. I think the easy bit is to go, we've got a new end line, let's chuck it on our ad. That's the easy thing, right? Although that's still flipping hard. Yeah. But just to get to that agreement on that set of wording. But the harder bit is to go, oh, right, okay, therefore now, what's our employee value proposition on the back of this? What's changing in our shops? What's changing in our product offering? That's the hard bit, because then that's where it really proves whether you're serious about your purpose. Are you going to change this stuff or lean into it more? And thankfully, in Boots, we've 100% all gone, we're all about this. We're going to lean into it. But that you're brilliant point. That's the hard bit, and that's all about influencing and stakeholder management, making everyone realise they've all got a stake in this. They've all got a role to play, and it's not just a bit of work for marketing. It's a business-wide project.
You are listening to That's What I Call Marketing.
Are you facing the maze of global expansion? Diplomat introduces the diplomacy model, a cost-effective, innovative approach to navigating the complexities of your brand's presence in international markets. Visit diplomat.agency.
If you would like to reach an engaged community of marketing leaders, get in touch with That's What I Call Marketing to discuss sponsorship opportunities.
Project.
Yeah, and when I spoke to Mauro Porcini, I loved his articulation of it. He talked about finding co-conspirators. So he was like, there will be people who early on won't believe and won't want to go with you on this journey. And he's like, I find the co-conspirators, because then you start building the momentum with those people, which I just love that, because I was like, okay, find almost the believers and they'll go with you. But I think as well, you need people who are going to be against you, not against you, but who push, because if everyone's like, yeah, you can run the risk of getting it terribly wrong.
No, I think it's a really important point, actually, particularly on something like purpose, because you want to have people that are going to challenge you, because a purpose should have edge to it. I think if the worst thing would be, I think if you get to an agreement on a purpose too early, again, it's not effective enough. You should have people arguing over whether that combination of words is right and real and genuine. I think I worry, it's very easy to come up with wording that's very neutral, like, let's be great together or something. And like, no one's going to argue with that. Of course, let's be great together, but something that says, with you for life being a good example is, it's a commitment, isn't it? So are we up for that commitment in everything we do? Well, yes. And that causes the debate. So I think, and there are probably too many sort of purpose expressions we can all point to where you sort of go, well, that's all right, and it's sort of, I remember when we came up with Life Made More at TSB just about a year before I left. There's a lot of debate, loads of debate on that and where that came from, to give that depth and meaning. And the idea there was to elevate beyond your money impacts so much of your life. If you've got your financial confidence, then your life can be stronger and richer. But that's quite a commitment for a bank to say, we're going to make your life. We can make more of your life if we help you sort your money out. That took a lot of debate. I remember the workshops over that. We worked with a great business 4.0, and to come up with that proposition, that was hard, really. But those debates were so important as an exec team, arguing over phraseology and what it means and the reality of that in the business. That's powerful. That shows you're having the right conversation. And I'd rather take longer to get it right than shortcut it and get it wrong, because I mentioned a minute ago, I worked for Aviva for a period, and Aviva, we had a purpose and end line. I think they've changed it twice since I left.
Right.
And I think that I still love that brand, but I always worry if you're going through a purpose with that quick succession, you kind of haven't done it properly or right the first time round. Although, to be honest, the one I inherited when I went in, I blooming loved that. I thought it was great, but I think that's the sign of it. Is it there to last? And so Tesco Every Little Helps is an end line articulation of a powerful purpose. It's lasted 20 plus years.
Yeah.
That's a brilliant positioning. That's a brilliant purpose in that business around the values of what they're going to bring every single day. We need more of those, I think, more of those longer term purposes that are, affect positioning and promise and direction of a business. That's when it becomes powerful and drives growth.
And they've done some great work. And, I think, like BBH have kind of really freshened it up as well. And it's, it is interesting how you kind of just keep that moving along and, not get knocked off as well. I was talking to somebody about this recently, where you can go in with enthusiasm and believe you're at the moment that, we've got this. And then somebody like, I'm not sure, and that can, we have to be careful that we don't go and try force something through at that moment, because we've a timeline in our heads.
Yeah, I agree. And the other thing I've learned is to particularly with purpose work, is also to take options. So, right, it's the same as creative work. It is, if someone presented me one creative idea, I haven't got much choice. I've either got to like it or not like it. If they show me three, I go, oh, right, okay, let's work out the best of the three or the best two of the three. And it's the same with purpose work. I remember when I was working on this at Royal & Son Alliance, we took 3 different territories in, took over a room in our agency and put them up and took those three. We made it 3 zones. We walked the exec through, where you got a chance to live with each of the purpose territories and say what do you like or not like about this. Such a powerful session. And then you got to see, oh, that works or that doesn't work, or that person likes it. So that was quite a drawn out bit of work, but so powerful to have that discussion. And better to go with 3 than the worst thing is to go and say, here's the one.
Yeah.
Right. And you find literally you have rocks lobbed at your one, and then you got nowhere to go. If you nowhere to go, you're like, all right, it's a bit like your baby's ugly, and there's the door. And so always even if you've got a preference, take options or different approaches in, because just gives you the wriggle room. And I think what I learned with that RSA experience was there were 3 and it was great. We were able to pull out one in particular, but there were strands of the other 2 who went, oh, actually, there's a flavor here that actually we could move that bit over here and that bit over here. That's interesting. That bit about modernity or technology, we'll take that bit and that. So, and you get to see people's bias for certain bits as well. Yeah. So, it's a very good way to do it.
Yeah. And speaking, you touched there on creative is hard as well in the lines, but I have to touch on the summer campaign and the line John from The Office says it's a lovely hike. Like that gets me. I love the delivery of it, the tonality of it. I absolutely love that campaign.
It's been a big success, that campaign. So thank you, first of all, for the feedback. It's actually one of the most talked about campaigns since I came into Boots. That and Christmas are the things people talk to me about. And when we that was our second round of ideas from WPP, as we sort of worked on a bit more work and refined it. And the minute the script came for that, was back to, I said 4 or 5 ideas. That was in the mix. I remember sitting there, my team going, "That's it. That's the one." It's so, and the idea that the little girl inadvertently picks up the wrong Boots bag, and the family are delighted that it's the wrong Boots bag. It's just, I think, an insight we all, whether people love climbing mountains or really it's not their thing. I think we can all relate to that moment of, actually, we feel we should be doing X, Y, and Z family activity, but we'd rather sit by the beach and laze around. So, no, thank you. I mean, that's done really well. The funny bit with that shoot is it was filmed in the Scottish Highlands, and day 1 is everything you see there, the mountain bit, the front part of the ad, beautiful, beautiful day. Yeah. Day 2, it poured with rain all day. So the back part of that commercial where they're sat on the beach actually was filmed between breaks of it pouring down with rain.
Oh, stop.
It's a miracle that you wouldn't know if you watched it, but I watch it just knowing that people running between being toweled down with getting wet and blankets and tents over them. But the joy of making adverts in the UK and trying to film a summer ad several months before it's the unpredictable summer. But no, we had a lot of fun.
And you had to, for that ad, it had to be shot. It had to be shot in the UK. It's not like you could, we open on a beach.
You could. It had to be very UK, and we needed it. We needed a mountain, which was true as well. We're just about, actually, in the next 2 weeks, we're launching 3 new 20-second beauty adverts, and they have a similar tonality to them as that. So I think you'll love those as well. We filmed those in Watford about 3 or 4 weeks ago, and so they're out very soon. They're a lot of fun, and they're all about the new beauty brands we brought into Boots over recent months. And I love that. Again, that's some of the work I'm most proud of that the team have done. They're super ads. Can't wait for you to see them.
I can't wait to see them. And do you go to all the shoots?
I do bits of it. I mean, right. Christmas I tend to go to all of it because there's so much riding on Christmas. I've got a brilliant team. I've got total confidence in the team. It's less that. More what I find it's useful to be on the shoot, because then when I see the edit,
exactly,
it's more real to me.
Yeah.
If I look at the beauty ad, I went to a day out of 2 days. And then for summer, I actually did one. I did the sunny day, coincidentally, and I had to go out to Nottingham, so I missed the rainy day. But the team did it brilliantly. And so I think it's helpful to be on at least part of the shoot.
Agree.
Also shows commitment to the team and the agency, shows interest in the work. But I also love that Take the Beauty campaign, me not being there on day 1, was great because it gives the team a whole bunch of experience, and they don't, nor should they ever end up looking to me. They can make decisions with the agency on the ground. So I think I'm getting the balance right. But I love the craft of a film being produced. I love seeing it pulled together. I love seeing creativity come to the fore. So you can't being on a shoot, even if it's just for a few hours, just to sort of soak up some of that magic.
Yeah, and I think you're right. I think it does allow you, have those moments of kind of, right, actually, when it comes through, you're going to be better able to kind of understand what went on, as opposed to going, well, would we not have done this? Oh God, it was raining. He's such an idiot. But also I think that point of, when you're there, as the most senior person, and you don't give off that air at all, actually, but, as the most senior person, I think people can feel they have to, okay, what do you think? How do you manage that? Because you've said that, in terms of your leadership style, that you really need to lean into empathy. So again, imagining you're not, give me the director's chair. I'm going to sit here. You know, that's not your style. So like, I get the impression, like on something like that, like you're just in the middle and you're one of the team.
I think it matters to be that. I mean, look, people will always look to you for what's your view on things, which is fine. But I've tried to, since I came into Boots, open up and hear a lot more from the team, because I really like, we're all here to learn, and I don't want to ever rob anyone of a development opportunity. So I'm really keen to hear other people's thoughts and opinions, because I might be wrong, I might be right, I might be so. Whenever we get presented creative from any of our agencies, and the floor opens, what do you think? I always plan it so I'm the last person they come to.
Yeah.
So I'm like, well, let's hear from the team first. And I remember the first time I did that, apparently it was a surprise to people because I hadn't approached it that way. So the people on the call when we did the first summer campaign when I came in who'd not been asked for their opinion before, and suddenly like, oh, wow, you want to know what I think? So hopefully by what I get from the team, we've built this culture now where I really do value, and my team really value their team's input. So we all are interested in what we're doing. I think it matters because if I've got someone who is running, for example, beauty marketing for me, I want them to feel like it's their project, not that they're not being told to do this thing by me, and it's not directed by me. I'll have an opinion on it, but I want to know what they think, and the team I've got a separate team who run things like Christmas and summer, another team that run our health activity. It's really good to get their opinions and views on things, and for them to feel their DNA in a project as much as mine. We're working on Christmas at the moment. I was commenting to the team there that when we were walking away from one of the days of the shoot, of saying, wow, I could really see what you brought to that and you brought to that, and then they were saying, well, I brought to that, and then so the agency have had their role, but when we see that work when it goes out later in the year, I think we'll all be able to step back, A, feel proud of it, but B, go, you know what, that's what I did and you did, and together we made this thing better. That's brilliant. That's a great way of working. But there's no room for, I never would be. There's no room for prima donnas. I think for me, particularly on set, if I look at Christmas, we had an amazing creative team on set who were there working with the director. My job's to make sure that what we film and we make is exactly what we want it to be. But equally, I like their role, their involvement, the nuance of what they see going on as well, and the role they play. So yeah, it is. It's very much a teamwork process, I think. And I love being challenged. I love people saying, actually, I see it differently.
Yeah.
And that's been really interesting on a couple of bits of work this year. The team are really good at saying, actually, I've got a different perspective. Those things really matter because that pushes the work on. Also, that helps evolve and change my thinking too. So I love that sort of challenge support dynamic.
I think that's so important, the changing of our perspectives on things, and, I was even, as you're talking there about beauty, I was thinking, my God, if I was involved in beauty, I wouldn't know where to start, right? I have a 14-year-old daughter. I'd probably be asking her, but you know what I mean? So you need people who understand the marketing, but understand the audience, understand the consumers, understand, how the products are used. Like, it's all that stuff is so important.
It really matters, yeah. And I think that it's back to the earlier point of therefore you feel really proud then of the work because you've been able to give input to that as well. And it's I think you're right. Those other technical bits are really important too. I think I remember when I worked for the AA, I worked on a golf project there, and just I remember being sent. I wasn't a golfer, being sent an image to use on a brochure, and thank goodness I went through the approval process properly. But someone was completely holding the golf club wrongly, and I just thought that's a really nice image, And the danger is that could have gone to print. 100,000 plus sort of brochures with the wrong image on. And any golfer would have looked at it and thought that whoever's held that golf club has never had a lesson in their life. And so, but that's those things are really important. So you're right, those nuances, and particularly for us in Boots, because we have a lot of supplier products in our activity, and I want to make sure the way we show those, whether it's an electrical beauty product or a cosmetic or a health product, we use making all of them show up in the best possible light. So having the team there to be across that too is helpful. So I think together then we're able to deliver the best work and have no badly held golf club moments.
It's so true. I've lots of examples, but I think that also then allows a culture of innovation and new ideas, and things like Boots and Love Island, right? That was kind of different, pushing not the boundaries necessarily, but like being open to something new and different. And obviously, again, that was has been hugely successful.
Yeah, it's a great partnership for us. I mean, ITV it's one of two partnerships. We've got one with Global on Heart as well. Both ITV and Global are amazing to work with. We're on our fourth or fifth or sixth series, I think, of Love Island now, because we've done the winter one as well. Brilliant partnership because it's unlike any other partnership I've worked on before, because we're not the main sponsor, we're a category sponsor or partner. We're covering the beauty side, and our products feature inside the villa. So when people watch the show, the products are being used, they're visible. And so it's fascinating. You get to see people genuinely shop the show. And some of that is because of the content of the show. Some of that's because we're doing promotions in the background while you're watching the show. But it's just a great thing to have. And again, particularly for our supplier brands who want to promote their products, see on TV, whether you're a health or beauty brands, seeing those in the villa is just great. And we see very strong, upwards product growth, double digit percentage growth of all the brands and products that feature in the villa. So it's become a really good thing for us. And again, we get loads of extra content from the Love Island. We get things like a beach hut tutorial, get content from the stars of the show. It's been great. It's really good. So ITV have continued to make that a very, very strong show. I think this series particularly has had great viewing figures. So very good partnership. And so the global one with Heart is great too, because we get to talk to our core audience every single weekday through the Heart Breakfast Show and beyond about what we do at Boots. And again, back to relevance again, we're not telling a good old Boots story. We're telling a wow Boots story every single day. Wow, this and this and this and this, all this new stuff at Boots every single day in a very fun, entertaining way with Jamie and Amanda. It's fantastic. So that's been a year plus that partnership too, and another great one for us at Boots.
I'm finding those partnerships, I think, like is hard to get the right ones. And not saying there were wrong ones before, but like it just, when they work and when everyone in it is like in it for the right reasons, in that they understand what you need out of it, you understand what they need out of it. It's that kind of, I love when that comes together, and there's just that real partnership. I had it working with the Irish Olympic team. Actually, during COVID, we were partnering with the Irish Olympic team, which was an absolute disaster. In terms of the games postponed, and then it was, but they worked so hard with us to make sure we were continuing to get what we needed out of it. It was wonderful. Like, it was just such a positive experience.
That's why it's brilliant, that example, because partnership is the word. I mean, I bounced there, didn't I, between sponsorship and partnership interchangeably, but they're not quite the same thing. And I think I look at what we do with ITV and with Global there as it's a partnership. Yeah, technically it's a sponsorship, but partnership is you're both invested in it and making it work. And I think it's very easy to get involved in what I call a lazy sponsorship, which is a badging exercise where you want your logo on it. And we've all seen too many of those. But a partnership says we both want this to work. We're both invested in making this work. And whatever that property is, giving it meaning, depth, and value. I think it's particularly important in, like the example you gave, Connor, of sports sponsorship. I think it's too easy to fall into just ending up badging stuff. When I worked for Aviva, I inherited the rugby Premiership sponsorship, and it was just it was very hard to make it work. But I think we ended up at one point creating some content with some rugby players sat in a car talking about car insurance, which was a bit low. And you sort of go, golly, if we really had to get to this base level of, that's the only way we can make this work. And I think, therefore, I do think looking longer, harder, it might be a great media property, but what's your story? Why you and working on that story together in the partnership is really important. I don't think it's enough just to say we're the sponsor of such and such. It's we are the sponsor, we're the partner of this thing because of this, and because together we're doing this, and then that's your narrative that you keep driving. Is absolutely, I think, particularly in sport. Otherwise, you could end up sponsoring all sorts of stuff, and then it just becomes a badging thing, and people connect you with this thing. But the story's got to say we are partnering rugby because of this together we believe this, and therefore we're going to take it, and therefore people go, oh great, and therefore that's the change you're driving. So that's why you're right. You've got to think long and hard about the partnership you get into and sweat them together, make them really work with a clear narrative for your customers, and also your staff. So your staff go, oh golly, I'm really proud that we're the sponsor involved with this thing, because I can see what it's doing for our business.
That's so important. It comes back to all those things. You talk about the positioning of the brand and employer brand, everything. It all has to come and work together. I've loads more to ask you, but I did want to ask you about the renowned difficult C-suite relationship, right? Like, so the challenging CEO and CFO. How have you managed that relationship? We talked a bit about kind of the data and commerciality, and I'm going to believe that's probably a huge part of it. I kind of fundamentally believe it's not necessarily as difficult as people make it out to be, but it's when we go in with the wrong messages. Like we talked about earlier on, like, our brand awareness is this, that, or the other. So I'd love to just kind of understand how kind of through your career you've maybe evolved your relationship to the point it's at now, which I believe, pretty strong relationship with your C-suite.
Yeah, it's really important to establish that and get it right early doors. When people talk about your 90-day plan, that has to be the top of the list, in my view, on the 90 days, is getting in and building the relationship, particularly with your CFO, showing that you're commercial and making sure that what you're doing is aligned to the business's goals. Finding those metrics that you can say, right, if we do this, this, and this, then we're showing growth, then we're driving growth, and we can show that in the P&L, getting that belief in what you're measuring and how you do it, starting there, and then using that collectively together for the wider C-suite. And then you can't be going out proving some stuff, because you can talk all you want about we're going to do this, but then the reality is we did it and this is what we achieved. And that is definitely the story in Boots, where we were able to come in together working with our finance colleagues and deliver some great campaigns, then improve the performance, and then that hopefully unlocks the opportunity to do more together. So it's that. I think there's also a bit of like, don't make marketing a mystery. I mean, I run what I call an open book approach, where anyone wants to come and have a look at what we're doing and kick the tires in it, please come in.
Okay.
There's no sort of like secret squirrel projects, or we're not sort of sponsoring some random thing over here that you don't know about. And there's none of that going on. And we actually had a sports sponsorship when I first came into Boots that just didn't quite have the traction it needed for a variety of reasons.
Right, yeah.
And so we decided to stop that, because we were just the wrong partner. We weren't. There wasn't there wasn't the sort of go forward narrative in the right direction, and also we had better opportunities like the ones we talked about a moment ago. And so better to move those things on, but then sort of just keep pushing them, and then go to things where the exec have got more belief and can see the tangibility and see the story. But it starts with alignment with the business goals, and there's so much of it is about relationship.
Yeah.
And also people seeing that they can trust you, that you're credible, you'll do a good job, you'll talk about things when they're going well, you'll talk about things when they're going less well, and you're aligned to their goals. I remember one of the most powerful moments I think I had, actually, when I joined Post Office, I was running marketing there, and I remember meeting the MD of the financial services business that became Post Office Money, and people said to me, "Oh God, it's been a tricksy relationship with that bit before. Watch your back." And I was like, "Okay." So I went and met this guy, and the first thing I said to him is, "My job is to help make you more successful. Is that okay?" And I said, "But I'm basically here to help your bit of the business succeed.
Yeah.
So if I'm going to challenge you, question you, and support you, I'm doing it with my intent being I want you to succeed." And that just unlocked a conversation that went. Suddenly, he was like, "Hey, this guy is okay, not an idiot, but also he's here to help me succeed." So I was clear that there'll be points, and we clashed over some stuff. But I said my intention is because I want you to win.
Yeah.
I've got no political side to me. There's no side to me at all that wants you to not win. I mean, there's like no interest. Why would I want this business unit to not? I mean, but sometimes it becomes irrational where all these barriers come up. And I want to be really clear that my job in marketing is for this business to grow and succeed, right? That's it. And I think saying things like that, they sound obvious, but they're really important ways to contract with people, saying, "I'm contracting with you that I will help make you more successful and your business unit grow. Let's do it together." Then brilliant. Then you're in partnership again, and it's a very different relationship.
Yeah, it changes the dynamic, it reduces the friction, doesn't it? Kind of saying, and then also it allows you to say no to certain things, because I remember that before, where people were like, "We should do this, this, and this," and I'm like, they're all brilliant ideas, but like, remember we talked about this is the path we were on, and these were the things we're going to do. So I'd have to stop doing X to do Y that you're asking for.
Yeah, and that's really important. Then you're showing trade-offs, aren't you? Which is, I care about this bit of the business, but I've got a choice to make, and I just need to know where the priorities are. Those are really good, honest conversations and relational, and I don't think it's wrong to have those, because they're real, aren't they?
Yeah.
But I think also the bit you're saying, which I also love, is also going in with solutions, which is the worst thing is to say, "I can't do it, mate." But I think the right approach is to say, "Look, I'm really up for this, but I've just got to trade a couple of things off. So there's a couple of ways into this. What are you thinking about? Maybe we need some extra staff or a bit of extra budget, or we stop doing that activity and switch it in for this." Suddenly you go, "I've now got options. And that unlocks the conversation. And it might be there's another third way you haven't thought of, but that again shows that you've invested in a relationship by saying, "I've thought this thing through and I've got some choices for you."
Yeah, the walls aren't up. Can I ask you, as you kind of progress through your career, kind of, sometimes the more senior you get, it can be harder to stay close to things. You've talked like, you're on the sheets. How are you staying close to the customers?
Yeah, having an ongoing form of research or insight tracking is really key. So we get data each week, so I know what's going on. I get to go through that actually every Monday. Monday's our big sort of trading day. I get to go through that data. That's really important. And then we have deeper dives at specific points in the year and also around campaign activity. So I think you just need that ongoing drumbeat. And also, I've got a brilliant insight team who are very proactive. And that's what I also want is people. I'm not sort of passively sat here waiting for stuff. I'm asking questions, but also people are bringing insights to me saying, well, what about this and this and this? And particularly that becomes important with things like how are people feeling right now in the country about their finances, about their health. Those bits help feed into our campaign activity. So no, it's definitely keeping that listening ear and always knowing that the world is evolving and changing, and you've got to progress. You've got to evolve with that change and stay with it is really important for any brand. Back to it. If you're going to stay relevant, you've got to keep in step with the mood of the nation, how people are feeling. So I think that bit's really, really key.
And you're always open to learning and trying new things. And I know outside of Boots, you're very into improv. So comedy and music improv. I'd love to, and I heard you talk before about kind of reinventing yourself through your career, but like, how is this? I suppose it's probably helping you in lots of ways, but like, what's it bringing to you in your kind of life in and outside of Boots?
Well, no, it may not be for everyone, but I would recommend improv. And so improv comedy, for everyone's benefit, is not stand-up. So you're always with other people, and it is improvised, as the word says. It's all made up. So no fixed routine. You might have games or scenarios you play, but everything is made up in your head and delivered in the moment. So I've recently been learning musical improv, where we literally make up songs you made up to music that didn't exist minutes beforehand, and accompanied by a brilliant guy on the piano. And then improv comedy is you're making up comedy sketches. And you don't need to be funny. Actually, it's funny by virtue of the fact you're making it up and you're with people and you're bouncing off each other. So I did it because I didn't do it to do work. I just wanted to learn a new skill. My son's an actor. I thought this is quite a good thing to do. But I think the biggest thing it's taught me and helped me learn to be more spontaneous in the moment, to be able to form ideas and thoughts faster, and also to be a bit more fun in the moment, actually, because sometimes you can create levity in quite heavy situations if you sort of know the right thing to say.
Right.
And improv's definitely taught me that around just being slightly faster and quick-witted, and that's just helpful in life generally anyway. It's also brilliant, give me a really different friendship group, because the great thing is, nor should anyone care what job I do, but I love the fact when I turn up at improv, it doesn't matter what job I do or who I work for. It's just about the fact, here's Pete who's rocked up and we're going to create some fun scenes tomorrow. In fact, tomorrow night I've got an improv singing lesson. That's exactly that. A group of people were together and we're just going to create some stuff and have fun, and we're going to have a laugh, and that's brilliant. And occasionally people say, oh, how's your week been at work? And I'll talk about it, but that's not the important bit. The important bit is we're having a laugh and we're creating and doing fun stuff together. So that diverse mix of people that I'm involved with now has been so good to just see the world through other people's eyes, as well as create fun stuff together. So I've learned, it's been liberating for me, particularly musical improv. I think it's probably been one of the most fun things I've done in my life. I'm not a naturally born singer, but I love making songs up. Is my new thing.
And I was reading that your Tears for Fears and 80s music. Do you try bring that into it?
Well, I always try and be, if I can bring an 80s vibe into it, it's I love 80s music. And
brilliant.
So and it's sort of, that sound is very much of the now again, isn't it? So if I can. At the minute, we've been learning more stuff that's like creating fake musicals. So it's been a bit more rock opera, but so we've done a couple of fake musicals recently. So you creating a musical in the moment. And it's great though, because bring musical improv live. Literally, I will sing a line and someone then has got to sing a line back that rhymes, and together we create a chorus. So it's not just you coming up with a song, you're creating a song together. So you're very reliant on other people, and thankfully I have some amazing people that can sing better than me and can rhyme things better than me, and together we create beautiful music.
That's brilliant. There'll be the Pete Markey Christmas album.
Oh, it's coming soon. In a shop near you very soon.
Yeah. Listen, I know we're coming at the end. I did want to ask you one final question before I get to the question. I was watching a video of you from 2009. It was really interesting. You were talking about standout, cut through, bravery, and things that are memorable. Now, this is before Jenny Romaniuk's book on brand assets and so. So I'm going back, but I was really interested in that, and like how you've obviously always kind of been maybe at the cutting edge yourself of marketing and where marketing needs to be. So like, were you always just reading and like interrogating marketing, or how did that come about? Because again, looking at that, like it's before its time in many ways.
Yeah, it's fun. I need to have that accolade known, don't I? I was ahead of my time. Someone wrote a book about something I came with. Wow, I never knew that. Good for you digging out that from 2009. I've always this is a brilliant industry, isn't it? And I think
Yeah.
for me, it's got to keep evolving and moving forward. So my passion is back to my vision for Boots is how do we create longevity for Boots, also longevity for marketing as a career and profession, that we keep evolving and moving it forwards. And I love marketing when it's done well. I'm quite a perfectionist for just doing it right and doing it properly, because when it does, it blooming works, really works. So at the heart of, no doubt, of what I was saying in 2009 was the same passion with, we got to do this stuff really well, haven't we? Because if we do, the credibility of marketing raises, the stock raises in the boardroom, the executive suite, people want to invest in what we're about. Brands and businesses grow, and together we all succeed. And I think that's the way to do it. If we don't keep evolving, I think we become like dinosaurs, don't we? Sort of get stuck. I think as marketers, because our customers' lives keep changing, we have to keep evolving and moving on. So yeah, I'm all up for that, and I always hope to continue to have that mindset.
And then last question for you, because we are at time, but what are the things that you were kind of like the big things that you're focused on having discussions with, with maybe the C-suite? I mean, is it tech? Is it AI? Where are kind of the big conversations with that team?
Well, it's all that and above. I mean, critical for us, and it'd be the same around any major sort of retailer's table, is around how do you continue to grow? And we've had great growth over the last couple of years. How you keep doing that? How do you keep putting your customers front and center and continue to offer them what matters? And that includes, the right investments in your customer experience and in what you're doing. So it's all of that and more. And AI is interesting, isn't it? I mean, we've got a whole bunch of work going on the marketing team and wider. I think AI is really, really interesting. So it's lots of exciting conversations and more to come.
Brilliant. Well, listen, Pete, thank you so much for joining me. As I said, I'm so looking forward to it, and it's been absolutely brilliant getting to speak to you and getting to hear your insights and your expertise and your empathy. It just flows through, honestly, and it's incredible. And I think by the success of the team, marketing team of the year.
Oh, great! Thank you. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks a million. Well, I hope you enjoyed that episode with Pete Markey, CMO of Boots. I was really looking forward to recording that episode with Pete, and it certainly did not disappoint. There's so much to take away from today's episode. Commerciality, empathy, the stuff that Pete does outside of work to help educate and bring people on. And again, I saw Pete at the Marketing Leadership Masterclass, and it's just incredible how generous he is of his time. And I think Pete has been through a lot in his career. You heard that today. He's very open and honest about it. And I think, for me, when I listen to Pete, that's what he wants to impart on people, his learnings from that. He's not afraid to share those learnings. I think that's a great lesson for all of us. Marketing careers aren't plain sailing. Like, they really aren't. They can't be. I've been through so much in my marketing career, and obviously the more recent times have been really difficult for me and challenging. And so, it's wonderful to meet someone like Pete and go, actually, those things can happen, and you can come out the other side and be a great leader and offer so much to this industry as Pete does. So I'm really grateful for his time, his generosity, and his huge support of this podcast. He's such a great supporter of it, and I'm forever grateful. Look, before we finish up, if you have enjoyed today's show, and you can share it with people that you think will enjoy it, or you can just rate or review it on the podcast platform you listen to, or on YouTube, wherever you're watching or listening. It's massive help to ensure that we can get this episode to more and more people. So from me, your host, Conor Byrne, again, thank you so much for tuning in. Remember, episodes are every Tuesday, so subscribe and you will not miss out on an episode. Thanks so much for tuning in.
If you would like to reach an engaged community of marketing leaders, get in touch with That's What I Call Marketing to discuss sponsorship opportunities.